Okay, great. So I'm going to start with the CD here. I always put some painter's tape over the back so that it closes off the hole. And then this is what I use for texture paste. It's patching plaster, like you would plaster a crack in a wall, and it's pretty cheap. I've got a big tub of it, and I just use a gift card, and I'm choosing this stencil, and I just push it all through there to make my background design. And you see how I just stencil right over the hole in the CD? And when I pull this up, my design is there, all ready to dry, just like that. And I will lay this aside. I have one that is already dry, you know how we do. And let me clean up my table mess here. I just keep my gift card that I use to spread that right in there at all times so that it's out of way but handy. Okay, so I have one that I have done already, and it's dry. So we're going to work on this one, and I'm going to show you how I create trees, either with a rope like this, or if you want a finer tree, you can use just regular cotton yarn. And we're going to glue it on here and then gesso over it, and that is our base for our tree. So with this, I like the ones that have the multiple plies, because as you can see on this one, I have cut off two of the strings there to make the branches. You see how you can cut it down to make it thin, or at the bottom where the root's going to show above the grass. And so you kind of just lay it out however you're going to want it. And I think I'm going to do like this for the first side. And then you just start with more pieces, however you want them. I'm going to come up here and cut this off. Have any of you ever done trees like this on your mixed media art? If you have, tell me about it. So this one will be like this, and if you want to let a like a hole in your tree, you just keep it apart like that, or you can just, when you glue them fast, keep them close together like that. Everyone still with me? So this one here, we're going to go up through here and cut it off there. So the tops will be covered up whenever we put stuff on. As always, I'm getting everything all over me. You know, I'm a messy crafter. So with your rope, here at the bottom, you can let it spread a little bit so that it looks like the roots of your tree are going out. No one's commenting. I just want to make sure you all can hear me. Y'all still with me? Oh, great. Okay, yes. So you kind of just let this spread out a little bit here at the bottom, because this is the other side of the tree. You can fan them all out a little if that helps. And this one we're going to kind of curve that way. And if you wanted these tops thinner, you could actually cut off part of it. I'm actually going to do one to show you how I did the first one. So this is going to be like this, and I'm going to thin this one right here. So I pull it up and I just unwind it, and we're going to cut off two of these. You see how you can create a thinner branch? and everyone has string or something of some kind around their home. So as you can see, let me rewind it there, it's kind of separated on me. Hey Queer Red, welcome. Welcome everyone. So there you see, I made that a thinner branch, and now I'm going to start gluing these on here. So that actually for those jumping on, I showed them how I do the stencil part on another one, and we're going to let it dry and use this one that I did last night so that it's dry too. So as you can see, we've kind of got our tree trunk here with the root going out through here, some branches up here, and I am going to glue them on now before we go to our next step. So bear with me. I always hate this when you have to remove it and start over. So let me see, make sure you're able to see this. I use the E6000 glue to glue everything, and then I always just do a little bit of hot glue so that it sticks there and won't be running off on me. Okay, so we're going to start gluing our tree trunk down. This is a messy glue, but it holds things so well. Plus it's flexible-ish, and I like that it's so permanent, but yet flexes, because the CDs will flex, as you all know, like this, and so I don't want anything popping off. Okay, we're ready for our third part of the tree trunk. You just put them there side by side, unless you want a opening for like an owl hole, then you would separate it there. But there's no owls in our tree today, thankfully. They are cute little critters. Oh, here we go. This is our last one, and I'm just going to run the glue along here. I'm getting smart as I go along. Just run it along there. And then the branch is going to come out here somewhere. So there, that creates your root for your tree. This creates your branch. And as we gesso, I kind of form it so that it stays a little bit better. And when it's totally dry, I will trim the edges of all that. So let's push it together a little here. So you see how this creates the bark look whenever you go to paint over it. Okay, let me put the lid on my glue before it runs away. And wipe up my mess here. And now I'm going to gesso over the whole thing and let it dry. I am almost out of gesso. That is a terrible thing to be in, predicament. Why would you run out of gesso? Well, I just used too much, and I've been waiting for my craft store that's going out of business to actually discount their gesso. So I'm hoping that it won't sell out before I get to it, and that I can get some deals, because I don't know about you, but I can't find cheap gesso around here. I usually end up getting it on Amazon. So you see, once you have your trees on there, just cover it with your black gesso. Sometimes I have let this area in here where I use white gesso if I'm going to do some sky there, but I'm just going to cover it all with black this time, and when I paint it, I'll just use the wax paints. And I love how the black gesso, I use it more than anything else. Crew Red, her and I are always at each other for not using white, but she's been doing better than me these days, right? Anyways, I just put it on thick, so I hopefully don't have to do it more than one time. Hey Sandra, welcome. You'll have to watch the beginning where we started. You have a store here that sells really cheap gesso. I hear a lot about Action. Girl, I'm gonna have to come visit you. Bring me a wad of cash to buy stuff, right? Maybe someday. Anyways, so once it's totally covered like that, I let it dry, and I'm gonna pull an anja on you where I'm not actually going to dry it on the video, because we all know how to dry stuff, and it can take a while, especially when it's thick like this. And I have, as you can see, I'm trying to get all the cracks, and it needs to totally dry in all those cracks. As you can see here, I'm sorry I had it too close. Just kind of form your branches as you go along there. You push this together, and I'll trim all that off once it's dry. So there you go. That's the base of doing a tree. And those that are just getting on, I'll just do a little recap for you. I'm going to lay this over here to where it can dry out of our way. I like to use rope that has several strands so that you can separate them and cut some off if you want a thinner branch. Isn't that neat? Yes. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to cover up my gesso here, because there's nothing like finding your gesso all dried out that is so discouraging. And I'm going to grab a rag. I save these t-shirts for rags. They make the best soft wiping cloths. Anyways, so I said there was a bigger surprise. Oh, I forgot. So once the tree is dry and you've painted the tree trunk, as you could see, the one I put in the event, I used buttons. And here in USA, we can buy colored buttons like this in any color with a whole big bag full. This was fuller yet, and it was one bag. And so, as you can see in that picture I had posted, I glued these on for my tree. And then I had, little red bird sitting in the tree and flowers down below it. But what we're going to do today, oh, and you can get these flower buttons too. Aren't they cool? So what we're going to do today to finish is just a little bit different. We're not going to use, let's see if I can fit this in the video. We're not going to use buttons for our tree, but instead I took a doily, a crocheted doily that had lots of these all attached to each other. As you can see, it had a hole in it. And I have glued those on my tree for the leaves. And this particular tree here, I used a bigger rope, as you can see, because I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. And then up here I faded it out so that it's not going to be as thick up here. So what we're going to do today to finish this off, since we're letting our CD dry, is we're going to paint this one, and I'll show you how I go about it. So I think I'm going to turn it like this and work at it from this angle here. So what we're going to do is first, this way it'll be above the comments a little bit better maybe, I am going to use the Art Alchemy Opal Magic Vintage Silk. Let me see if you can see it there. Yes, Vintage Silk. And this one here, when it first came, I wasn't sure about its color because it didn't show up well on white gesso, and it was like, what is it? But then as I used it for the dark gesso, it makes a brown color once it fully soaks in. This is the lovely part of using wax paints. It's so therapeutic just to use your fingers like this. So my other brown that I used to use was one of those metallic lusters, and it completely dried out. I need to do like Anja showed me and rehabilitate it so that it can be used again. But for today we're going to use these. So I just rub the tops. When I get up here where my tree is, got to be careful I don't touch it wrong. And then I'll use a little brush for down in the cracks a little bit because I want it to, you see here how I faded that out to look like roots? Oops, I got that a little bit thick there. So I'll just rub this down in the cracks because it tends to want to be just a little creamy looking if you don't get it rubbed out, where it'll be more whitish if it's not worked in. So you see how I'm concentrating on the roots there and how I kind of spread out my rope and put it down in. This piece is about, let's see, 8 by 11.5, and it is a wooden background. I love working with wood. My husband does a lot of building projects, and he lets me have the wood pieces. He actually cuts them up into sizes for me, and then I take a sander to them and sand the edges nice and smooth, and I don't have to buy canvases that way. But there are some situations where I do buy a canvas because I want that canvas look. So you see how I left a little hole there for a little owl or something, squirrel to live in. Some people don't like to use their fingers, then they won't get a clear spot there like that. But I do. Let's see if I can get along that edge a little bit better. That'll be covered up with other stuff. Sometimes it takes a second little coat to really make it pop because of all the black that's in it. But you see how I made that where it kind of looks like bark. Okay, I'm going to turn it back up like this. Look at it for a minute. Hello, Beatrice. Welcome. We are creating trees here with rope. Okay, so I just wipe it off a little if it gets in there. So I used the doilies like this for gluing over the top for my leaves, and I used this bigger rope in rows to create my tree stump, tree bark. And there's one little place here. This is a branch, sticks out through here. I'm actually got a little bird to sit there. So I've created him a little nesting spot. So I may come back through and catch a few places where I've missed, like right there, with a smaller brush sometimes, and catch in there in the spots. You know, not all trees are perfect. Okay, then I'm going to use, let me put the lid on this. So I want to tell you a little bit about this part right here. This part here is a piece of leather. I have no idea what kind of leather it is, but it's like this and it has these bumps on it. Maybe it's alligator. A friend who works with leather gave it to me, and you can see he cut pieces out, so it was truly just a scrap. But I love to use it in my scenery pictures like this because it looks like bumpy field, bumpy grass. So I glued it on here and I've gessoed over it, and I'll be painting it too as we go along. So let me see. I think I'm going to turn it this way so I can reach this part better. So what's your favorite color? I'm using Lucky Emerald for my green grass. This is a brand new one. And when it first came, it had the beeswax kind of pulled on top, so I had to wipe that off. But it was a hot day when it came, and so I'm not surprised. So you see how when you rub the wax on over top of the glued on doilies, and that they've been gessoed, how it just hits the top and lets this amazing design of the crochet doily come through. And I picked these doilies up at thrift stores and yard sales for, sometimes they're in the free box, sometimes they're just 50 cents, very, very cheap. And you can get lace too if you want lace. So you see how we're just coloring in that, and I'll probably do several passes over this so that it's bright and shiny. Plus I'd like to seal all my stuff too. That gives it some shimmer. I seal it because if I go to all the work to make this, I want it to last, you know. I want it to be able to be easily wiped off from fly specks and dirt and dust. So you see how that just brings that out, just makes it pop. I love seeing the design come to life. So you can see I did black gesso here and white gesso here because this is going to be blue for the blue sky. And when I did the glued it on, I made it come all the way up over the top here, so that when you look at the top of it, it is also colored. So if you could have 3 of these wax paints, and only 3, which would be your favorite? I think for me it would have to be blue and gold and copper. Those are my favorites. Well, but why just limit ourselves to one, you know? Thank you, Tinka. It's such a fun way to do this. Gives this lovely texture. And then I will take a brush and let me make sure you're able to see this, yes. And I will get the inside spots that I can't reach. That way it looks like your tree is green all the way through. Doesn't let too much black stick out. So as you can see, we're getting in all the crochet stitches there. Yeah, it kind of ruins your brush. That's why I just picked up a cheap one for this. Yeah, you don't want to use an expensive brush to do this one. So just get all the nooks and crannies. And when you gesso these doilies, it makes it stiff and holds it into place. I think I used matte gel to glue them on with. See how fun they are? Wish you all were here creating with me. I need a creative friend nearby. Actually, I'm going to probably do an art class for my friend's kids. She saw this and she said, oh, she said her kids would love learning this stuff. And so I said, okay, this winter we will do a class. The Bronze Age, yep. This is the Lucky Emerald. Let me flip it over so you can see. Lucky Emerald. I bought one when I started doing mixed media 2 years ago, and just now used that first one totally up, and I've made many of these with the green, and so for me they last a long time because I'm very careful to not overuse them. We're going to paint this in here behind where the bird sits green too, so that anything that shows around him is going to look like leaves. So this is just a brand new one. One of these lasted me for 2 years, and that's what I like about them. A little bit goes a long way. Doesn't take a whole lot. Okay, I'm going to check over here on this edge. Get all the spots over here. So when I spray that with a clear sealer, which I'll show you what I mean by a clear sealer. I get this at Walmart, which is our big department store here, and it's a crystal clear enamel with a glossy finish. So what I usually do before I glue on anything is I would take this outside because it's a strong smell and spray it all in every corner so that it's all totally sealed. So I think we need just a little bit of green here yet, and I can probably touch up some of this too later. So there we go. That was the Lucky Emerald. I'll probably use a little bit of that for the pasture here, but I'm going to start with the Opal Magic Green Brocade one, which is a lighter green. This is another one of those Opal Magic ones that I was like, I'm not sure what color this is going to be. But when I put it here on this leather, which, like I said, I'm going to move this up so you can see it a little bit better. I think it was some kind of alligator skin or something. My friend that does leather work gave me his scraps. So you see how that gives a different shimmer than the Lucky Emerald does. So this would just rub it in till it's all covered. And with the leather like that, it gives, you know, a different background look, where when you hang this on the wall, it looks like it's a field out there with the bumps and hills and hollows and that kind of thing. So I will either use leather like this, or I look at used stores for belting, leather belts with designs. And I'll show you, I've got another piece of it I'm going to use here in our collage. So you can see I bring it down around the side like that. I don't frame my pieces. Oops, I was up too high. I don't frame my pieces most times, once in a while, but I will put a trim all around the top of it there. So there you see. And you can just kind of, any of the little darker shadows, you know, if you want a little bit more, just fill it in there like that. I usually wrap it around this side over here, but I did not today. I am just going to come over with the same green and cover in the sides. This one's around the side, you can't. And I'm going to wrap some stuff around here, and you will see how it's a little hard to do because of I need a brush, a stiffer brush maybe, but this here will just because of the corner there, it's a little hard to get stiff stuff to wrap around it, but we're going to try. Some of it we will put on very last. So you see I didn't put the leather part over here, but I just do it the same color anyways. So there we go, we got that part done. I think it just needs a little bit, oh, I know where I wanted a little bit more, right up here by the tree itself. Just fade it in there a little bit. So that's my little tip to make it look like grass, is to get you some kind of rough material. It can be cardboard. This piece here was off of a Starbucks cup, but you see how it gives that lovely texture. So we could have done a piece of that here if we wanted, but I like the looks of this better. Okay, we will rub that in good and let that dry. And then down here for the grass part, I have used fabric sometimes for grass. And I'll show you what kind of fabric I'm talking about. I would take a piece of this green fuzzy stuff to look like grass and cut it and glue it in there to fit. And then I would seal over it with Mod Podge or something like that. Well, that's too bad, Tinka. Glad you came back on. To make a grass look. But I wanted to go for a little different this time. So I'm not going to use my grass fabric, but we're going to do something different. What I have is my homemade alcohol spray. We're going to try this one. So I got these little pigment powders. It's called Spring Green. And then I bought these spray bottles. And you put about 1/4 teaspoon of that pigment in here and fill it full of alcohol. Shake it up and it makes a pigment spray. So I am going to put something here to protect it. Let's do this. We're going to put this here like this to kind of protect what we've already done. And you can see the pigment there. I'm going to pull this up close so you can see the shimmer. Do you see how it lets the shimmer green behind it? And we will run the heat gun for just a little bit. Sorry about the noise, to dry off the alcohol. I'll push it up. So if you can see that, let's see if my light will shine. It kind of pushes the pigment around. I don't know if you can see that clearly or not. Makes designs in it. So that it's making my brown run a little bit, but that's perfectly fine. You just kind of spread it out. You know, grass is not any certain way. But as you dry it, the alcohol dries and it lets just the pigment behind. And then when I spray my sealer on it, it totally seals it all in, so that it just lets the shimmer behind. What do you think of that? I think it needs just a little bit more here. Sometimes it takes a few different layers of it to get it to be the right consistency that you want. As you can see, I am a very, very messy painter, crafter. What about you all? I know some of them are very, very particular. Some wear gloves. Me, I just create a mess and then I go back over it, wash it up later. Okay, so there we go. You can see we have the Lucky Emerald Green. You see how that shimmers? And our Vintage Silk Brown. And then this was the Opal Magic Green Brocade. Gives it kind of, and then up here we've got our shimmers. Hey, let me see if I can pull that light over a little closer so you can see how everything looks. My husband's going to put me in a really nice light above my table eventually. But, you know, everything has to happen in its... why alcohol and not water? Well, you think about alcohol inks. I don't know. There's something about the alcohol, I think, and I could be wrong, dries quicker than the water, and it doesn't... I don't know. The dampness is just different. Tell him I'll try that the next time, Sandra. I don't want to burn it. My heat tool is really, really hot, and if I get it up close, it'll start melting and making the waxes melt that I used. Okay, so my next step would be, and I have no idea how long I've been talking, but I am going to use a metallic paint. It's called Ice Blue, and it's got a shimmer in it. Like again, I don't use name brand stuff. I just get this from my local department store, and it's cheap. So I pour a little bit in there, and we are going to paint our sky with this. And I will come back later and put little clouds. I have been known to add little, let me make sure this is centered where you can see it. I have been known to add little birds flying in the sky. The one I made, I painted a little, now I'm not going to be able to remember the word. It'll come to me. I hate that when the words just fly out of your brain. Anyways, I'll move on. You can paint whatever you want in the background as if it's in your scenery. So right now I'm just adding some blue sky here. And it'll probably take 2 coats, which I will do another coat off camera because I want to do the edges and I don't want those sticky right now. But this just kind of gives you an idea the different layering that you can use. I just like how the consistency of this acrylic paint is better than waxes for the sky. It just makes it look better for me. Hey Anja, made it home from work to watch, or are you headed out to work? Thank you for letting me come and do this on your group. I love showing the techniques that I have learned by trial and error, you know. You gonna be doing another live for us soon, Anja? Yes, this is a real mixed media. This is how I like to do my stuff, 3D, and I look everywhere for things that might give texture. I'll tell you a story about me. Our coffee pot quit the other day. You know, how dreadful can that be? We were making it by hand. Anyways, my husband takes care of me even when he's out traveling, and he ordered a new coffee pot on Amazon, and when it came, first thing I do is make a pot just because nothing like that kind. Anyways, I took the old coffee pot and tore it apart. I'll show you what all you can get out of a coffee pot. To steampunk. Oh great, you're home for the weekend. That's nice. So look at this, ladies. That all came out of my old coffee pot, and it will go in my steampunk art someday. Lovely stuff. So don't throw away any appliances of any kind without first dismantling them and getting the goodies out. My friends laugh at me, but then they secretly sneak me boxes of stuff like that for my art because they love it. There's nothing like recycling things. So I will add some white clouds with a sponge eventually. We're just going to quickly do the blue over here. I'll do the edges later off camera once it's dry. Oh no, I forgot. I do need to do a little bit of the sides because I'm going to glue something down over the sides. You see if I can have a sturdy enough hand here. So I've got these acrylics in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 colors, and they have a shimmer metallic to them. So for 98 cents a bottle, you can't beat that. Anyways, so there we go for that part. And because I forgot that I do need to do this side, am I messing it up on that side? I'll try to hold it at an angle. Actually, we're just going to do this little bit of corner here, and I'll do the edge later. But I have to have this part done. I'll give you my next tip of how to use mixed media. There's too many lines going on here. I think my gesso had gotten thick on me. But anyways, we will make clouds out there. But I'm just gonna mix it up a little bit. Okay, that's it of that color for now. So you see how our scenery picture is coming together there? What do you think? Isn't that gorgeous? So now we can start adding on the beautiful little items that I started collecting. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is like I said, I watch for belting at thrift stores and yard sales and those kind of places. And I loved this. It has flowers in it. And it's just a narrow one. So we are going to put it, let me scoot this up so you can see. We are going to put it right here. and it's going to bend down around the side. But because it has to be held in place until it's dry, I am just going to, I gotta get it straight, so it covers up the edge of your leather there. I'm just going to glue this part and wait until it's dry before I bend this down around. So I'll have to do that later. But we will go ahead and put this part on. If I can find my glue. Where did I set it? Put the lid on it. Ah, over here. Sorry, didn't mean to reach across. Yeah, you can use anything. And that and that. And yeah, so my husband keeps a container down in his shop basement room. And as he's sorting stuff and fixing stuff and cutting things, he's putting pieces of stuff in there. Old hinges and little chunks of wood that have shapes and things like that. So I first use my E6000 glue. Let me show you here. E6000 glue. And then to hold it in place till it's dry, I put a few dabs of hot glue on there. Just a few. With hot glue they will pop off, but not with the E6000. Okay, so I'm going to place this across here and try to get it straight. You gotta watch, the glue will come up through those little holes in the flowers. And I also have a little piece for the other side that goes to finish it going across. But I'm going to wait and do that one off camera because it's so tiny that I'll have to prop it up and wait it, wait till that side is dry before I bend it down around. So with this kind of thing, you have to do a little bit of that, where you wait till later. The next thing that goes on is our craft store's going out of business. I know, I could cry. And they have these packets of little fencing. Used to be $4.99. I got this for like 89 cents. So I stocked up. And I'm going to do the fence right here, going across above my flowers. You see how it's making the scenery picture? And I bent this to go down around the side also. I need to stretch it out just a little. Get my curve. So this one is going to go right here. Like that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this. And actually, I think I will put glue on this part. I just wasn't sure about whether I should glue it right now or not. I may have to end up gluing it a little bit more later, but and a few dabs of hot glue to hold it in place. And I just take this and knock the strings out, how they get strings in it, before I stick it on. So there, a little fence that creates a 3D look to things. And I also have a little piece that will go over here too, but we will wait to do that till I can prop it there and hold it in place until it's fully dry. So that gives you the look there. So next up on our list, I just got this piece of chain. I don't even remember where, but it's kind of brassish looking. But I am going to glue that. You know what, I need to make sure that my acrylic is dry up here so I don't mess it up. Oh no, I am sure I never throws away anything again. Yes, we get them trained right eventually. So we're going to place this little chain. You can save chain from like old lamp string chain, and we're going to glue it up across there. So you see what that is? That's a little fence back there on the other side of the pasture. What do you think I'm going to put in this pasture? Okay, so we are going to glue this on. And I'm going to put a pretty thick bead of glue. Yep, we will get our husbands, boyfriends, neighbors all trained right to save all the goodies for us, won't we? And I had this, I think, yes, I wanted it this way down. So there you go. There's a little fence back there on the edge of that pasture. And I am going to go ahead and glue in the one on this side. Even though there's no leather to run it along, it will just edge that little bit there. So I remember how I had this. Nope. This way. So you see how I like to wrap it around? That way you don't need a frame. No sheep. So this is one of those things, sorry, talking with a lid in my mouth. This is one of those things that I couldn't redo without buying something. So when a friend gave me a whole bit of costume jewelry, in that costume jewelry was this. Can you see it? It's a mother horse in her colt. And this was a bracelet that wrapped around. And I hammered it all nice and straight. And we are going to glue it on right here. And you see how I've bent this down around? So it's going to have horses, but I think their head should be sticking above that far fence just a little bit. A cow that gives paint instead of milk. Yes, I know, that would be fun, wouldn't it? We'd all have cows in our backyard, one for each color. So there we go. I'm going to put the horse there. Or do I want it there? No, it won't show up as clearly. Its head's got to stick above the back fence. Right like that. Okay, so let me see the best way to glue this on. And for this, I am going to do my E6000 all along the edge. Oops, a little bit thick. And down that edge. Whoops, you can't see. I need to get a different setup for my camera. Okay, got that done, and I'm going to put a good wad of hot glue right in there because it's back in farther, but this way it'll kind of build up right there. Maybe I should do some on the horse's head too. That way it'll build up right there and stick in place until the others dry. And I am going to do a quick wipe of glue. Like I said, if I wasn't doing this for you all, I would spray this with the sealer first, which I will still do. I will just tape my horse so that it doesn't get anything on it. And I see I'm going to have to clean off something there. So there you go. That part, and we'll finish the flowers and the... What do I not listen to? Shout something and then it'll be something else. I listen to all of y'all. So now we come to our bottom here. You can put stones if you'd like. I'll show you what I've got. Oh, we've got to add our bird. Our bird. I am going with kind of a yellow theme on this one. So we have the goldish belting, and then we are going to do a little yellow bird. And so as you do this kind of mixed media, sometimes you have to alter things so that they fit. So you see, I cut off the wing off the one side of the bird, and that way he will sit in there better, because he wanted to just pop right out on me. So we're going to put a good amount of glue there, and then I'll put a little dab of hot glue in there too, and he will sit there on that little branch overlooking the pasture scene. There you go, little birdie, permanently stuck. What do you think? At my craft store I can get packs of these birds in different colors, different sizes, as you can see when I do the CD trees. I use the little bird here like this to create a little bush. Yeah, it kind of hides my tree, but this sticks out here. I just wanted a little more 3D to it. And I will put some glue along here to hold this, and then I will do a row of hot glue. So literally, as you can see, anything can be used in a 3D art piece. And I just kind of put them all right there. This one needs a little bit more hot glue to hold it in place. And I'm out of glue stick. Thank God for hot glue and glue sticks, you know, girls? So this kind of hides where the little belting ends right there. See that? You like my bird? Yeah, his wings cut off, but he doesn't know it. So I put this right here like this, and needs another little bit of hot glue. So I have my E6000 in there, which will, oh sorry, which will hold it permanent. Didn't mean to shake that. Which will hold it permanently. And then we're going to add some other little things down below. So you could use paper flowers. I'm going with the yellow theme. I am first going to glue in these gold viney things to cover that. And we're first going to snip off the stems to those ferns. Bushes. Now bushes. So I got this the other day for 98 cents. It was a headband that had a row of these. And I thought, oh, look at that. So many pieces. So little time. I know, I'm crazy. And you see how that kind of creates the bottom of the bush? We're actually going to run the vine on out along the base of the tree. What do you think of that? Can you see it okay? My lighting is a little bad right here. Here we go. I'll light it up a little bit more that way. And we're going to glue those in place. Find my glue. A little bit of hot glue, just enough to hold it. Like that. And this one goes like this. As it dries, you can kind of push it down tight. So these were off of a headband. Like I said, anything can be used. Any piece of art form. And we're going to continue the little viney bits out along the tree root. Just like that. You see how that has that? Bird and horse are all staying obediently in place. And I am going to use little yellow button flowers for right here to finish it off. That one wants to pop up. We'll stick it in underneath. So these are plastic button flowers. You could also use these if you wanted, but I wanted something a little bit more permanent than those this time. Do I want to overlap it? Nope, just like that. So there we go with our yellow theme again. Yellow flowers, yellow bird. If you ever see a yellow bird that looks like that, tell me. I've never seen one in real life. But it was the closest one I had to real life colors. It wasn't pink or purple. Bright pink or purple. Sometimes I will also add some seed beads, like gold or brownish seed beads out through there, just to kind of look like a little bit of dirt. Or you could, I'm going to put this one right here. Or you could do some texture paste first to give it a little more roughness. Some people do that, use a stencil that looks like grass, or just texture roughness on there. Okay, so last but not least in this little farm scene, I am going to put a little cowboy boot here. So I have some cowboy friends, and I'm just going to put it there to finish out that little section. But I think I will wait to put it on until I've sprayed everything and sealed it all. So that is all I have for today. So what do you think? You gonna try? Let me bring it down here where you can see the whole thing. We'll put some clouds in the sky, touch up a few things yet. You gonna try making a tree yourself with just rope like this? Or if you're doing a smaller project, the smaller rope with the 3 strings to it. Doilies that you can cut apart, gesso on, or buttons. You can make button trees. I love creating little scenes like this. They make my heart sing for some reason. You're welcome. So if any of you decide to try this, please do post your pictures of your trees onto the Steamfairy group, and we can all see them too. Thank you so much, Anja, for letting me come on your group and teach you how to do this. And you all have a wonderful evening. Talk to you later.